So believe it or not, CNN did a really solid segment in the Rust Belt. And they accidentally revealed what might be the most important thing in winning a presidential election.
There are too many towns that symbolize the boom and bust in the Rust Belt. Monessen, Pennsylvania is one of them. Once a thriving steel town with a population of 25,000, but now the steel mills shuttered and just a fraction of the people remain. If Monessen is a poster child of the steel industry's good times and bad, is Monessen now going to become the poster child of the president's trade war and a failed campaign promise when the president said he'd bring that industry back? CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich went to find out.
I'm going to look at the mill because I got so many memories.
It's been 32 years since John Gollum worked in this steel mill in Monessen, Pennsylvania. Once the lifeblood of this town, now it's gone. He still wears his jacket to remember.
But this is all I have left after all those years I had with the mill. I gave my heart and soul. And there's many men and women who did the same as I, and especially in Pittsburgh area. And it's like we were spat upon.
Which is why this Democrat voted Republican for the first time after then candidate Donald Trump came to town.
Many of these areas have still never recovered and never will unless I become president.
And then we had Donald Trump come here and profess about reviving American steel. And that's just what all of us steelworkers wanted to hear. Then when he was elected, he pulled a Houdini on us. He disappeared.
Monessen was a thriving steel town, but it's lost half its population since the mill closed in the 80s. Today, it's coming apart at the seams. The poverty rate is 60% higher than the national average, and now what little business remains is being threatened by the trade war.
But all from China.
They're all from China, right. Yeah.
Buzzy Byron also worked at the steel mill, but he's found new life in his fireworks shop and sports apparel store in town. Both will be hit with a 15% tariff.
Nobody wants to see the price goes up. I don't care what it is. You know, you don't want to come in here this year and spend $10 for this and then come back next year and spend 15. And I feel bad because I know all of these people, and I don't, I feel bad to where I'm not going to let you pay that bigger, higher price.
The trade war is expected to cost American families $1,000 more each year.
That is something that residents that are already struggling can't afford. We need jobs here, but we need jobs that fit the 21st century. We were founded to help supplement what Pittsburgh was doing with steel, and I think that we could play that role again.
While the mayor sees opportunity, Gollum has lost hope. He says voters in the Rust Belt like him believed President Trump had their backs, helping to elect him. Now, he feels lied to. If you had an opportunity to see the president again, if he came back to Monessen, Pennsylvania, what would you say to him?
He wouldn't speak to me. He
Why?
wouldn't speak to me because I'd have to tell him the truth. Where are your promises?
Damn. Now, I think the most important point here is none of that stuff had to happen. Because oftentimes there's this trade fatalism that's advocated by many people, not just, free traders on the right, but also the so-called free traders on the corporate Democratic side, the centrist side. All of this is avoidable. It's a matter of policy that led to the degradation and the destruction of all these places in the Rust Belt. And there's some very simple policy proposals that could help move us back in the right direction. Now, it is a fair point to say, well, will they ever regain, what they had previously with the exact same industries? To which I would respond, no. So you can't put all your you can't put all your eggs in one basket. And you can't have only car companies, only steel mills or whatever in certain places. You do have to diversify the economy in these areas. But, however, you certainly can help, at least in part, revitalize and do it with these, old school industries that were there. So, for example, one of the things you do is what Bernie Sanders has been talking about doing, which is saying, we will give 0 federal contracts to companies that outsource. So if you want a very lucrative U.S. government contract, you just can't outsource. You could do, a Buy America executive order, which says anytime the federal government buys anything, they have to buy made in the USA. Right now, we pretend like that's the case, but it includes the USA and all of our allies. So it's really not made in the USA. But you could sign that executive order. That's the executive order that Trump was acting like he was going to sign, and he never signed it. Instead, he did a symbolic Buy America Week or Buy America Week or whatever, where he just highlights at the White House, here are all the products made in America, and they do this weird little festival thingy, but there's no there. That's not actually bringing back jobs. That's not, you could fine or tax outsourcers. You could give people, businesses massive tax credits or rebates for buying products that are made in America. There's a lot of ways to go about this, and we don't need to have this insane race to the bottom that we're currently engaged in, where the whole point is, let's outsource jobs, let's send them to Bangladesh, let's pay people pennies on the dollar, let's import the products, and the products will be significantly less expensive. But there are consequences to that. If I told you all you had to do was pay 57 cents more for a product, and that means you can have, good paying union jobs in this country and job creation in this country, I'm sure you'd say, hell yeah, I'll do that. I would absolutely love to do that. So there are very simple, clear ways to bring back jobs. And this is why, regardless of what your favorite issue is and your number one issue, and by the way, I have them too. At the very top of my list is probably Medicare for all. If it's not the top, it's certainly top 3. But fact of the matter is, when it comes to winning a general election for president, this might actually be the most important issue. Free trade, outsourcing, jobs, and the economy in the Rust Belt. Now, you could say, hey man, I don't like that that's the system we have. That's fair enough, but that is the system that we have. And I think it's rather empirical to say that this is the most important issue because, whoever takes the Rust Belt takes the general election. And if you have a populist left candidate like Bernie, you win the general election. Because Trump's fake populism, they're sick of it. They're totally sick of it. And you just heard them tell you, guy voted for Trump because of what Trump said, and he didn't follow through. Now, by the way, another great point, and I'll end on this in this segment, but Ro Khanna is trying to bring tech jobs to the middle of the country. And again, this is the kind of innovation that's positive because I like a two-pronged approach. Let's crack down on outsourcers, let's incentivize job creation and industry in the US. I like that approach, but I also like the Khanna approach of let's bring new jobs, let's incentivize tech companies to bring new jobs. Instead of outsourcing them, send them to the middle of the country, and then we can have new jobs of the future as well in the middle of the country. I think you need a two-pronged approach. I think that's the only way to try to fix the system, which is obviously in rapid decline. And you don't see enough going on at this moment with this administration in this direction. In fact, as you guys know, because I've pointed out this fact many times, in Trump's first year in office, 93,000 jobs were outsourced. There's a guy who campaigned on stopping outsourcing. And there were more jobs outsourced in his first year than in Obama's last year. So he ain't doing enough, and he ain't doing the right things. And as you could see, and this story pointed it out, the tariffs, which are in theory supposed to help with this job creation, if anything, it's hurting. And there is a net job loss as a result of it. So the way he's going about doing it is not the right way. And CNN actually deserves credit. I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth, but for this particular segment, they deserve credit. This is a really important thing here that lays out a very real dynamic in the country that needs to be addressed.